Wait, we're rolling? Shoot! This is Raymond Hayden. Welcome to Spin, Stories from the Green Room. Thank you for tuning in to this last episode of Spin, Stories from the Green Room, specifically Stories from my Green Room. Anyway, who knows, maybe you just tuned in new to the 10th and final episode, but just so you know, this is one of 10 parts. And Spin, it's cool. Anyway, just sharing a little bit of my journey very succinctly with all of you out there, because there's been so many of you out there who have been so kind to ask so many questions about my journey. What did this album mean? What was I writing? Where was I? What was I doing at this time? Which, by the way, I keep getting your emails, and that's none of your business. Anyway, we'll leave the fourth dimension out of it. But the final episode, I thought it would be great to kind of wrap all this up with my why. And I know that sounds like a TED Talk, and it actually is a TED Talk. TED Talk, the why. It's very powerful. But kind of wrap this whole thing up with my why I do what I do, and why I created this series called Spin. Why I created this, let's start with the Spin first. The reason I created this series called Spin was because I was getting enough people asking me about my music. And I know I'm not big like Elton John or big like, U2 or Floyd or anything like this. All great bands and whatever. But going through the coaching that I did, like I talked about a couple different episodes ago, it really kind of taught me that whole thing again about the journey, not the destination, and that we're all valuable, whether you're an A-lister or a B-lister, a C-lister or a Q-lister, whatever, wherever you are in the thing, we're all just as important. We all have people that we relate to in conversations and narratives that we can express and heal. Music heals, art heals, connection, collaboration, all that stuff heals. And so I thought, why not put out a little series called Spin? Thanks to my dear friends, the Sawtells, for coming up with that name and the tagline and all that kind of stuff. Thank you very much. Love you guys. But just in a way to connect with each of you out there. And if you don't connect with this, hey, thanks for at least tuning in. And, if you're an artist and you want to do, maybe this inspires you to finish that song or to realize that you are important, and that it doesn't matter whether 6 people have watched your video or 6 people have heard your song. Who are those 6 people? And who are the people in the shadows that heard you but don't hit the like button or don't hit the share button? They're out there. Believe me, I run into them a lot. A lot of times you run into people who go, I've been watching you, and you're like, really? You're like, it's kind of shocking. But if you do it for the right reasons, you do it just because of the love of what you do, and just don't worry about what anybody else says. Now, is that to say that you can't, you don't keep an open mind and have constructive criticism to maybe changing the key of a song or changing the arrangement or whatever? I'm not talking about collaborative working efforts not listening to each other. I'm talking about people who, for lack of a better word, are hating or talk bad about you or tell you that they don't like what you did or make fun of you behind the scenes or just ignore you. And there's a lot of that out there. Not a lot. There's a few of that. There's also people out there who profess to be one thing and are simply not. And you could think, well, I want to expose them and let them. Well, there's nothing to be gained from that. The only thing you can do is expose your heart, open up your walls, open up your blinders, and just love people. That's your spin. This is my spin, and I'm hoping that what you get out of this is your spin, that you will open your heart, that you will be kind, that you will listen, that you will have more grace for your fellow human beings, and help that flood of change and transformation go out into the world. So that's why Spin. And I really appreciate, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you all being here through these different episodes, loving your feedback and comments. That's great. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. Why music? That's the bigger question. For many, many years, like I said in the very beginning, I started playing music at 9. I was in tour buses at 9 and traveling around the country. And I'm realizing my love of travel and meeting and connecting with other people and writing, pen pals before there was emails and doing all this kind of stuff. It's all great and loving it. And so as my life built, as I went through junior high and high school and starting playing keyboards over in Europe and then touring with that band and then going to the East Coast and coming back here and playing with this band, playing with that band, opening up for Blue Oyster Cult, Nazareth and Berlin and all these, these different bands and April Wine and et cetera, thinking, oh, this is just great and this is great and this is great. And I was thinking, well, my life's all about music and, these different relationships I'd have. I think it was my failing of myself to identify with myself as just, I'm a musician. That's who I am. Treat me like one. Boy, was I wrong. And it was some serious humble pie to eat. What I am is a guy. Just like any other guys out there. I just happen to have this gift that I was given by God and hard work called music. And it's just one of the ways in which I connect with people. That's what I thought my why was my whole life. Going through my coaching really opened up and made a huge shift and a pivot point in my life to realize that my why is truly wanting to make a difference. Again, not trying to sound like Walt Disney, but wanting to make a difference. With who? Don't know, don't care. My fellow human beings. Just wanting to make a difference. Sometimes I dress up like a unicorn. Sometimes I do Jim Carrey and William Shatner impressions like this. We've been looking for intelligent life. Terrible, I know. Anyway, whatever it is, trying to make people laugh, feel, do something. And so that's what it's all about. But when I realized that my why was making a difference, here's why it's so important. What also I was going through was what's called imposter syndrome. And there's people out there who would say, well, imposters don't have imposter syndrome. It's a little bit more complicated than that. When people would give me compliments and lift me up and do whatever, it was so hard to take that because I didn't believe they were talking about me. I believed they were talking about somebody else, or this is who you think I am, but if they only really knew how terrible I was. And I know, having a lot of artist friends and talking to that, a lot of artists feel that same way, and it just plagues us and kills you. And if that is you, listen to me. Go talk to somebody, a coach, a friend, whatever. Get that out. It takes some work, but it allows you to figure it out. So when I discovered that my why, although a big part of it is music is a vehicle I use, it was making a difference, it allowed me to completely dismantle that whole imposter statue, realizing that all the things I did, which I thought were sabotaging my career, like having a record label and having podcasts, and being a mentor with the Live It Out Loud program, whatever, all these things I was doing that was taking away, I was like, only if I would have just, spent all that time working in my keyboard playing, I'd be so good. And it turns out, in spite of myself, I turned out to be a pretty good keyboard player. And, but that's just one of the things I do. And so it turns out that, no, I was doing all those things because those were my why. My whole life, my why has been to make a difference. And so if there's one thing you get out of this project that I call Spin, is that you look in the mirror, you love who you see, you take a breath, take a chance on yourself, talk to people, realize anything great takes courage and takes hard work, and find out what your why is. Really dig deep, because that way you will live your whole life against that and not question yourself and not do whatever. I want to take this moment to thank all of you for listening to my series Spin. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Jessica Lynn Whitty, for always loving and supporting me and everything I do and being behind me on this series. This is just some fun. I want to thank my dear friend, George Varghese at Verge Studios for having this beautiful camera set up and studio for me to come into with my band and to do this Spin series. He's a great guy. Check him out at Verge Studios if you're a band or if you're somebody who wants to do a video like this or whatever. Give him a call. He's affordable. He's professional. He'll get the job done. So, George, I want to thank you for being there for me and for this project. And then I want to thank those of you out there who have reached out and made this happen because you've asked all your questions and been sincere and didn't know different things. It's because of you. And you all know who you are. And if you don't, ask me and I'll tell you. Anyway, RaymondHayden.net. RaymondHayden.net. This has been Spin. What's your spin?